Us everyone, welcome to the Kyokushin Shuffle, and I hope everyone's doing well. Thanks everyone for your time. Thanks everyone for your support. It means the world to me, and I've got a very special guest here. I've wanted to have a chat to this man for a while. Everyone from Griffith in New South Wales, Sensei Frank Cirilo. How are you, Sensei? How's it going?
Well, Sensei Pat, how are you? I'm excited to be on here.
Yeah, mate. Look, I can't wait to have a chat to you. For listeners, I've just briefly had a chat with Sensei. Sensei fits in between that forever the student, person and the forever the coach. And I thought I was like, I've followed you for a while. I love the way how you guys operate over there in Griffith, and I thought it's time to have a chat and potentially combine two here, and let's see how we go. We always have to respect that we've got an hour of our guest time. So Sensei, how are you going? How are things going for you at your end? And more so just in a summary of like how dojos are going in respect of the COVID, and did it hit you in any way? And just to give everyone an idea how you're going as well.
Okay. COVID hit us pretty hard for a while anyway, for 3 months or so. It was quite hard. I mean, all the other instructors that have been on here, we've all had roughly the same experiences, except of course in New South Wales, we got off a lot easier compared to you guys in Victoria. But for me, I rallied our instructors together in our branch, and we thought this is a great time to innovate. So we had a great time. We started Zoom classes within the week, and we were proud. We had over 100 online at any one time for most of it.
Sensational.
It was insane. We shared the classes with our instructors throughout the branch. We had fun with our students. We taught them. I guess a bit of it was entertainment, as well as, of course, getting across the Kyokushin training. We enjoyed it. At the same time, we created an online student portal, which I'm still filming to this day. We have a syllabus, of course, we have a manual. And what I've done and my instructors have done is we have created little mini clips on everything that's in our syllabus. And it is now online. A person goes for their 10th cue, they can see everything they need. When they get their 9th, when they pass their 10th cue, the next layer opens up and so forth. That's been amazing, and it's a new product for us. It kept us in contact, and now it's a live happening thing, which is great.
Well done. Yeah, isn't that cool? Again, with the circumstances that have happened. Thanks for sharing that, because it does give us, I guess, one thing that's occurred here in Melbourne more so, and I'm not talking on behalf of anyone but myself, is because doors opened up November and then Christmas and then Jan, and we're so fortunate to be training. I've just been blinkers on, with just my dojo, opening up a new dojo and so on, that I until maybe last week or the week before, I was like, shit, I wonder how everyone else is going. And and then I've got contacts in Mexico, Canada, and other people that listen to the show, and they message me and they're not training. And I was like, what the, oh man, I've totally forgotten. And I try to apologize in a way, because I felt terrible, because a lot of those people, and you were one of them, Sensei, who would continually write to me. And when you had that moment of, hey, I hope all's going well in Melbourne, and it meant the world. So I appreciate that from that level. But yeah, there's so many out there that are not fortunate as us.
No, it's true. I and my instructors as well, we would continually remind our students in the dojo that how lucky and fortunate we really are. And I used to say the Victorian people, understand the people in Victoria, they'd kill to be in the dojo right now doing what we're doing. And sometimes I like to dedicate our training session to something or someone. And, we would dedicate our sessions and our energy towards, I know it might sound a little funny, but it helped motivate us and push us and make us be thankful that we can be in our dojos sweating it out. So what we would say, let's train on their behalf tonight, because I know they kill to be in the dojo. And, to this day, there are top level Shians. There's one Shian Roman, who's in Canada, and he's teaching classes, you know, in his lounge room every single day. He's a ninth dan, you know,
Oh, wow.
and and I love getting online and coming up with checking out his Airageka combinations, and I'm taking this to class because this is just gold. You know, you know, and I thank them for it. You know, we're all innovating. You know, that's what our style is about. We don't stop. Got to keep going.
Yeah, and how cool has that been, right? You know, in gesturing the Xian from Canada and around the world, how we have all had our blessings to train with each other for so long, and then this thing has happened and enabled us now to tap into so many parts of the world, so many different instructors, and see the like-minded individuals that share the same passion and energy as we do.
Yeah. Look, it's really important. It gave me, I know for me, it gave me time not only to get my thoughts together, and maybe if my energy was low, it gave me time to reignite my passion again. But it also gave me a chance to look outwards, see what other people are doing, whether it was an instructional DVD, things that I just didn't have time to do, just to be able to turn things over my head so I can keep pushing things out to our students, something new, keep innovating. So we use that time, but we are very mindful that a lot of the world, they're suffering so badly, so badly.
Well, shout out to everyone around the world that listens to the shuffle, and you know, stay positive. And I've gestured it in my other posts. Please reach out to me now. You know, Sensei Frank, reach out to himself, and I've jumped on a couple of Zooms on my behalf. If it works out, the timing and all that, let's train, and I'll be in my dojo, and I'm happy to Zoom in at any time. But that goes out to everyone. So Sensei, thanks for your summary there and how things are. You know, we always start on a certain note. For many that aren't familiar with you, I'm fortunate to have, you know, been in your presence over multiple years at tournaments and so forth. But the lucky question and the one that you might have at dinner parties often is, how did you get involved in martial arts? How did Kyokushin Karate land on your lap as such?
Well, it started with Dad, my father, taking me to the little old theatre in Griffith to watch kung fu movies. that's pretty much it. They're all subtitled, huge movies where they're floating around and you know, just doing all this crazy stuff that sticks to impossible. But to me, it was, wow, look what these people can do. And that just lit a fire under me, and I knew that was a direction I needed to do that stuff. And then for me, Chuck Norris came along.
Oh, cool.
And he was just amazing. I definitely love Bruce Lee. There's no doubt about that as well. But for me, I don't know, Chuck Norris seemed to have resonated with me a lot more. And I knew, you know, I'd be at my next door neighbour's place when we bouncing around on a trampoline and chucking flying sidekicks or something like that. And I knew that I just needed to channel this. So a friend of mine at school, his brother was a black belt in a style of karate. I honestly can't remember the style back then, but we would I would go along to that style, and it was very similar to Kyokushin, and we would just train and beat the tripe out of each other, and I loved it. I just loved it. I said, this is it. And from there, eventually, my instructor had left Griffith, and I was left. What am I going to do here? I don't even know why, but at 16, I felt obliged as the high belt to take on his students for a while. What was I doing that for? I don't even know why. I just started doing it in a squash court, and I did that for a while, but then realized, geez, that's a huge responsibility. I might have kept the light going for a few more months, but I don't know. I don't even know why I gravitated towards that, but I don't know. I guess that was a precursor to what's happening now.
Yeah.
And I love doing it, and I love that everyone was doing it and we were sharing it together. And then eventually I went away. I lived in Mildura for a few years. I was at a hospitality college, and I come back and I needed to get back into training. So I missed 3-4 years of training. Got into some Kyokushin classes. I started with Xian, who's now Xian Glenn Gibbons. He was a Griffith boy. So I trained with Xian Glenn from the ACT. We had some, he was good for us, but he was also a mate. So we trained very hard there. Then he moved away, and I ended up finding Sensei Tony Ursia, who's an absolute pioneer in Kyokushin in the Griffith area. Awesome. He was taking some classes. He ended up stopping, but there was a lot of stops and starts. I ended up with, I don't know if you've ever heard of Sensei Sebastian Archidiacono and Adam Archidiacono. Adam was quite a big fighter at the time. And Sensei Sebastian was from Italy, and he was the judo champion of Italy, moved to Griffith, and extremely hardcore instructor, I heard. A couple of his students ended up becoming black belts. I went under them for most of the time, and we were under Xian Jim Phillips. I got my black belt under Xian Jim. That is an experience I'll never forget, and I'm absolutely blessed to have done it at Xian's dojo. Eventually, my senseis ended up stopping. Sensei John Rule and Sensei Gary Deleste ended up stopping. I ended up taking over Sensei Gary's class in 2006, and it's been onwards and upwards then. I ended up changing over to the AKKA under Hunchy Taylor, and he's opened up so many opportunities for me. He was really good for us. He's been just an amazing mentor. Yeah. But to a point, we've been quite alone on our own out here. So I've kind of had my way a little bit because we're so far away from everybody. And now we've created, I've got dojos. We've got our own branch. Hunchy made me a branch chief, which wasn't something I was looking for. But he explained his reasons. And I decided to take it on. I felt, we need to keep Kyokushin going. There's got to be a new guard eventually. So, and now we've got the Riverina Kyokushin has dojos in Albury, one in Wodonga, one in Rutherglen, one in Griffith. And during COVID, we just signed up Sensei Michelle Cable from Parks. Cool. And she has one in Forbes. So we're just out here in the bush, all training together, keeping it alive.
I love hearing that. That's a great summary there, Sensei, because all of us have such a unique journey thus far, no matter how many years it's been. But for the listeners out there, have a listen to the I guess not the ups and downs, more like the turbulence of like, whoa, here we go, and these many ways and many people that have crossed paths with you and given a lot of their energy and time, and then for those types of people to leave, and then like you said, there's a moment there where you're trying to hold the fort for your crew or your community, and that was a big importance of me in having a chat to you about it, and for the listeners to really understand your influence within the community. Look, and to be honest with everyone, this is just from afar that I know Sensei, afar meaning via social media. And a lot of the other guests I have is, we rarely have an angle to be in touch with each other. If it's once a year, if I ever fought at an ACA tournament, I'd see Sensei, but we would briefly chat for 2 minutes, if that, and then move parts. So, just hearing that is fantastic, and it gives me some good perspective and appreciation of someone like my upbringing, where I was so fortunate to have Xian Bill there 24/7, one dojo, one master, and you just, you just appreciate rocking up to the dojo until that time in 2012 for me, where Xian said, listen, I'm going to work abroad. The dojo is going to have to close. And it was like, what do you mean? For us little stubborn Melbourne city slickers, compared to your little story there. So I appreciate you sharing that. Sensei, you know, the big thing that I just mentioned is your influence within the community. And again, I mean that with all respect and with all seriousness. In Griffith, in regional New South Wales, you know, this part of what you've been building with Kyokushin and, you know, your time and energy and effort, and for everyone out there, follow Sensei's social pages for his positive mindset on things. How have you, I guess, been with let's go pre-COVID, you know, in just how you've been such an influence to the community, and more so how that makes you passionate, or where is it coming from? You know, your beautiful family. What is all this, you know, that equals you?
That's a really good question.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Look, to a point, I never really had a plan for this. I know that I was drawn to, from a very young age, I was drawn to motivational books, Anthony Robbins and all that ilk. And I bet you somewhere in your office, you probably got something to say. But
sure.
Yeah. And I just love that way of thinking. But I never really planned to do this. I just knew that I loved our style because it was honest. You can't hide on the mat. You know what I'm saying? You've probably heard this a few times, but it's true. And I needed to be around that kind of honesty, I guess. And I just ended up doing it without thinking. You know, Sensei, I was going to my classes, and at the same time, what people don't know, some know, I used to travel I didn't know how many kilometers until one day I sat down. I didn't have a dojo as such, but I traveled 1,000 kilometers a week to towns out in the bush, 110 kilometers one way, 100, you know, and then I'd find a tiny little town in between and do 2. And then I'd rush, doing ridiculous speed limits, getting back to Griffith just to be at my sensei's class.
Yeah, right.
And I did about 5 or 6 towns, some of them 150 kilometers away.
Wow.
And I did that every week for years. And I don't know why. Like, it wasn't.
Isn't that fascinating?
I just go, yeah, well, we should just go teach out there now. And I should, my wife and I also ran a cafe. We had our own business on top of that. And I've been in a band for 20 years. Until a little while ago, I don't even know how I survived doing that. But everything that we did, I just simply loved being involved in it, you know? I just let that fuel me, I guess. But
there you go.
It wasn't a plan. It wasn't a plan, but thank God for that, because I am one of the fortunate, just like you are, just being able to make that decision one day, say, I'm just going to make this my life.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
And I wake up every day and just go, you know, I get to teach people and I get to share time and I love what I'm doing, you know? So that's all I can say about that.
No, you know, and you got me on one thing there where you're not sure why you're doing it, but you're doing it, right? And what I'm saying is many contemplate procrastination in a way, you know, towards even traveling 10 kilometers to Nunawading dojo or 5 kilometers to your dojo and thinking about things. But you're in that, you know, you had your wife at the time and you just, in a way, just full steam ahead, you know, let's just continue on. But I can share with everyone what I felt from that was just your energy. You got really good energy, man. You got this really cool, powerful energy that had to go somewhere, you know, and that's where it was going, 200 odd Ks or, you know, 1,000 kilometers a week. It was, you know, and that's why that's a cool way of everyone understanding your influence within that community in regional New South Wales.
Yeah, I guess unfortunately for my students, it works against them because I can't handle excuses because
well, good. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean you can't get to class? You know, I have students, Sensei, that come 2-3 times a week that live 150 to 160 k's away because they've got no choice. It's either come to Kyokushin or come to our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes or not.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have students that do that every day, and yet I have students that live down the road.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no excuses in our dojo, and I'm short on it. You know, on they know that because you know what it's like. We've burnt the candle at both ends so often that when you start to hear this in your ear, you're just going, okay.
Yeah, BS. You know, Sensei, we've got a couple of highlights that I wanted to bring up with you, and you've segued into one earlier with your Shodan under Shian Kantra, Jimmy Phillips. Give us a little bit of a journey towards that that side of your life there.
Okay, look, I've got to be really thankful and grateful to my instructors, Sensei Gary and Sensei John, because they demanded 100% all the time. Didn't have time for shirkers, and the work ethic was very high, and that molded me. I needed that. You know, no time to think, just smash it out, smash it out, smash it out. And I've taken that with me now in our classes. You know, their influence with the work ethic is you know, I carry on. And if you know, with Sean Jim, he was the same, or he's probably still the same. I caught up with him last year at Sean Judd's. We had talked for quite a while, and we hugged it out and had a great night together. I love the man. And but that grading, there was a black belt grading here in Griffith, or you could do the black belt grading over there in Sydney. And I chose to go over there. Didn't really know too many people, and it was the grading from hell. I know they filmed it and they said, "Do you want a copy?" I said, "No, I've left all my demons on the mat. I don't need to relive this ever again." I remember the first drink in 7-hour grading was just before the fights. What? I remember going to have a drink, and the crystals of salt were so heavy on my lips, I didn't even realize they were there. We just trained and trained. You know, it was a very tough grading. And then I remember at the end, or you know, the hour or so to go, a murderer's row of people walked in the door, and I recognized some, you know, Australian champs, et cetera, et cetera. They just walked in the door. And I also realized I was the only one going for my Shodan.
Oh, I see.
So it was amazing. There was a guy that won the New South Wales kickboxing title the night before. He destroyed me while we were on there. He was like, I don't know, he must have had energy to burn that day. It was great. All I told myself, Sensei, you know, I've told my students, the only thing I told myself was, I'm not dropping to a knee for anybody in this room. No one's going to take, you know, I'm not dropping during this 40 fights. I'm not dropping. There's nothing you can do. I'm not dropping. And that's what kept me going through the fights. And I remember Sean Jimmy grabbed some lead weights and put them in my hands with 5 or so fights to go. And he said, if they drop, we're adding a fight. It was fight 39. And there it was. Pop, straight out. And Sensei Gary looked and tried to put, he was meant to be my last fight or second last fight. He went to put his foot on the thing, and Sean Jim saw it. And there was nothing worse than watching on the whiteboard another strike. So I did 41. Nice. But by then it didn't matter anymore. But it was an amazing experience. And the one thing that is dear to my heart was at the end, we were shaking hands with everybody. And one of his Sandans, I wish I knew his name. He was the doctor. And as it was a mess, and we're all walking past and shaking hands at the end of class. And the doctor said, I have never seen anyone as tenacious as you in my life. And I said, thank you. And then I walked out the dojo and I said, what's tenacious mean? I had to go find out what tenacious meant. But then I realized what an absolute, and a beautiful thing to say. And I was so happy that he thought that, he'd never seen something. And I put it down to just telling myself I'm not dropping for anybody.
Yeah. Good.
It was an amazing day, and I'll never forget. And I kind of take that to all our students now.
I was about to say,
you're not getting out of here. You're not getting out of here. You're going to earn every single part of that black belt.
Yeah.
Or any grade, to be honest. And we hold our heads up high out here because they're all earned. I don't think I've handed out a black belt that wasn't well and truly. There'd be nothing worse, though, would there, Sensei? Having doubt in your own belt, knowing.
Yeah. And you know what I wanted to raise with you is the age of certain belts for certain individuals, right? I was fortunate to grade 2 years ago my students who was 58 and 55, and there's that part where they're not expected to do what a 25-year-old is meant to be doing for us, but they went above and beyond. These guys, they just went absolutely above and beyond, and we're like, let's just keep going, let's keep pushing them, let's keep going. And it's just amazing, those days of a black belt grading where the spirit just doesn't just rise, it just goes through the roof, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Everything that I've been involved in when it comes to black belt and above gradings, you just ride that energy for days.
Yeah.
It's something a dojo operator can understand. Maybe I'm being wishy-washy again, I guess. I walk into my dojo the next day, like on a Sunday, to clean the dojo, and it's still vibing. You can still feel it in there. It's a real thing. It's a very tangible thing. You can feel it. You can sense it. It's there. And once again, I like to I always thank my students for giving the dojo that present of that energy, because you left yourself in there. It's in there. It's in the walls. It's in the mats. It's going to be there forever, and it's just keeps adding layers to the dojo for those that are going to come. Those black belts of the past, they're in there still to this day.
Yeah, that's special, isn't it? It's a good way of putting it. Yeah. When you've accomplished the illustrious Shodan, and as you've shared with us earlier, you weren't up for what was ahead to an extent. This wasn't planned towards being a gym / dojo operator with your wife, and raising your kids, and in regional New South Wales and so forth. What was some of the things that were starting to, you went to, you joined ACA, Australian Kyokushin Group, and then you mentioned Hunchy Don Taylor. Can you give us a bit of a 5-minute segue here towards that transition and the influences of many in that group?
For sure. Look, the idea at the time was that I was purchasing the dojo. There was a lot of things in there, and Sensei Gary was moving on. He'd been teaching for a very long time. And as a business, it was a business decision to just look around, see what's out there, And we went to the Nationals that year, and I had emailed Hunchy Taylor that I just wanted to chat to him. Now, what happened was he was running the Australian Championships from South Sydney Juniors, and he stopped what he was doing, told people, this is blah, 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 this is where I'm going to have a talk with Sensei Frank, and we went into a cafe. He was running the Australian Championships, but still found half an hour. He let his guys run the show, and I felt very important, because, and I won't say that, it was important, because the idea was, I was looking at the time, it was never a political decision or anything like that. I hate when people bring up the word politics, but not for political reasons, just for using it as a thing. But all I said to Hunchy was, I want my students out in Griffith at the time and all the other places to be able to have the same opportunities as the city people. I want them to have the opportunity to be in the Australian team, to fight overseas, to, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I said, I want that. I said, as long as that is happening, that our students get the same opportunities, then I'm happy. And that's exactly what happened. He took us in, and he's just been a mentor ever since. He's shared many of his stories about Sosei the same way Hunchy Eddie would have as well. You know, they've got amazing stories, and I've been so lucky to be able to spend time at the dinner table many times, you know, on trips, etc., and just hearing things that sometimes a lot of people don't get to hear.
Yeah, that's
you know?
right.
And you realize you're with legit. Almost, you know, well, you could say it with both Hunchies, with royalty in Australia for sure.
100%. Yeah.
You know,
no doubt.
And to be made a branch chief a few years ago, like I said, and I was taken by absolute surprise because it wasn't something in my plan. But I guess he also saw that I had the structure here, which wasn't a plan, like I said. But I had a collection of dojos that I just still go to. I go to every school term. I go and visit our dojos and train with them, and etc. We keep very close contact. And I guess he saw that and saw what we were doing. So he asked if I would like to do that in official capacity. So been doing that ever since.
Yeah, that's good. And I think, you know, one for the listeners out there with Hunchy, John Taylor, many have asked me to get him on. You know, and it's all respect. It's all respect first and foremost, you know, and the chapter thus far is to talk to his students and talk to, you know, people like yourself in a way, because he's influenced thousands, tens of thousands, so, like Hunchy Eddie. When's Hunchy Eddie going to come on? We'll get there, you know, and if we don't, we don't, but we'll get there. We have to respect that first and foremost. And more so hearing this angle, like yourself, for a Melburnian, you know, again, down the road, you know, we as in why I did this show was to get an opportunity to get to know people like you, to get to hear what you hear or what you say to your dojo students and to your members, because we don't get to hear that. And I think that's being missed. I think, well, missed as in not that we're intentionally trying to miss it. I think it just gets missed. And like I said to you earlier, you know, the dojo opens and you just go, you know, like you would be fully invested in, you know, making sure that your hub is taken care of. And then, you know, 6 months, a year goes like that, 5 years goes like that, 10. And then before you know it, and that's why this platform is to hear what you know, your thoughts are of a Jimmy Hunchy, a Country Jimmy, a Hunchy, you know, John Taylor, these influential figures that we all are fortunate to shake hands with, have dinner with, and chat, but many others may not and will not. And you know, we have to continue that angle of listening and going, wow, yeah, they are. Because when I hear other people that I interview from overseas, they talk about their similar high ranked people, and like Hunchy, Steve Arneal, for example. When I talk to the UK boys, whew, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, we've got one of them, you know, we've got, you know, New South Wales / Queensland and Victoria. You know, we're so lucky.
Yeah, very lucky.
Yep. You know, when you're progressing through, and then, you know, I shared with you earlier, I've been, Xian Billy gave me a call near the middle of last year with this COVID situation and said, Pat, I've got good news for you. And I was like, hey, what's up? And we chat probably every day. So I'm like, what's up? And he's like, oh, so you're doing the 50 Man Kumite, Pat? And I was like, yeah, no worries. Thinking, you know, yeah. And he's like, no, properly, black belt, you know, the whole thing. Oh, okay, great. You know, and I played the whole, yeah, this is cool. Took me 2-3 nights to, you know, chat to my wife about it, and then all these COVID things. But my segue in it is, you've done it. You've done a 50 Man Kumite, correct?
Yeah, I sure have. Yep.
And you're here to talk about it, mate. So inspire me. Sell it to me, mate. Sensei,
Sell it
sell
to
it to
you.
me.
It started, look, it was always in the back of my head. Look, I fought in plenty of tournaments, but call me, I was the journeyman fighter. I wasn't brilliant at it, but I just loved being involved in it. I would go to heaps of tournaments. I was lucky enough to fight some really good people at the time. One fight was Sensei Sam Gilbert. I fought him. I fought quite a few people, but I won't say that I was a world beater or anything like that. But there was still something inside. I know that I finished with all that. I know that because my wife told me that. And
Classic.
But there was still something in there, and I went, the 50 man, the 50 man, the 50 man. And then I was speaking to a friend of mine, Sensei Robert Loretti, and I know that he had done the 50 man many years ago. And I was speaking to my friend Shiam Jim Sklavos, and he had done the 50 man. But we had mentioned that, like they told me their ages, and I said, well, I'll be just about 43. And he goes, and at the time, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think in Australia that I don't know. But I did ask Hunchy. I said, would I be the oldest person to have done this? And he says, I think so. And I said, well, that's my angle then. I'm going to be the oldest person in Australia, at least in the ACCA anyway, to have done the 50 men. But I remember I was in my dojo and I rang Hunchy on an afternoon and I said, Hunchy, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Expecting him to say no. And he goes, yeah, sure, very good. Yep, okay. We'll do it in October. And he hung up. And the sickest feeling come over me.
You're not selling it too well for me here.
What have I done to myself?
Unreal.
Because I'm not backing out of this shit now. I can't.
Yeah.
So 11 months, I just put in the plan, and I loved it. I just loved the training. I remember, up in the dojo every day, I had 10 hanging bags, and amongst everything else, I'd come in on a Sunday when everything's closed, and I'd fight each bag for 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Start again, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2. And I just loved the training, and I felt really good again. It gave me something new to focus on, and my students were just freaking awesome, in their support. And the day came, and I'm actually halfway through a book I've written. Cool. I'm calling it The Ultimate Truth. Living life off the mats, sort of an instruction on how you use what you've learned in Kyokushin to apply to your life.
Very good.
Mind you, it's been sitting halfway for many years, but this is part of my goal this year. But the book is threaded. Each chapter starts with a portion of my 50 man day, from driving there. And I recall it, Sensei Pat, I wrote it down. It was like driving to your own execution. I go, why would
You're
you
not
drive
selling
to your
it to
own
me well here.
I'm asking my wife in the car, do you think they'd care if we didn't turn up? What I didn't realize was when I walked into that club, that there was over 200 people in there. I didn't know. When I walked in, the shock of seeing the community there.
Yes.
And I went, shit, now I really have to do this. And I walked at the back, and God bless him, Sean Gary Vickers, who was one of the original 50-man guys. He was at the back sorting everyone out, putting them into numbers and everything like that. And I was just ready to vomit. I was just like, this isn't happening.
You're not selling it.
This cannot be happening to me. What have I done to myself, And the worst part of the lot was I got on the mat and I looked, and there was my mother and father sitting on the side of the mat.
Wow.
And I can't handle this. for one reason or another, they never really saw me compete or anything like
Yes.
that, apart from
Similar.
one tournament. And there they were right there. And there were times Mum was screaming at the opponents about why they're hitting me and hurting me. But it was hands down an amazing experience.
That's a bit
I
better.
recommend it, Sensei. Look, I recommend it. You will kill it. There's no doubt about it. Look, I'm glad that I've done it. And this is what I tell people. I did my 50 man, you know, when you're in your 40s, it's not going to look like someone that's in their 20s or someone in their 30s. But you know what I mean? I done it for me. I didn't do it to prove anything to anybody. It was my experience for me.
Yeah, right.
And I'm very, very glad I've done it. I invite, you know, like Hunchy, you know, back, you know, he was very gracious because at the time he wanted to keep the black belts that were in the ACCA, they had to do it. And I asked, I'm good friends with Sensei Peter Rich. And I said, well, I want Sensei Pete to be here.
Yeah, right.
You know, I want him to take part in it, which he did, you know, and there was the who's who, and I got beaten from pillar to post. I made a couple of mistakes, and in my early fights, I remember going to sweep Sean Tony Bowden, who is very partial to a sweep. And all I remember was foot sweep happens. He started to tilt and then he came straight back up. And he looked at me and then his big watermelon hands just went straight through me. I went off the mat. I was against the wall and he kept hitting me while I'm against the wall. He just didn't care that we're on the mat. He just thought, you bastard, what you just tried to do to me, you know?
For those listeners out there, Sean Tony Bowden was one of the first Australians in the world tournament in 79. Am I correct in bringing that up? Yeah, so good one. Good call.
Was he 5 times Australian heavyweight champ? I think it was 5 times. Back in the day when it was, you know, run over 2-3 days, you know, they were.
So you tried to sweep him. Nice one.
So I had 4 or 5 people in my 50 man that had done the 50 man.
Oh, nice. How special. Well. Yes.
Now, what a lot of people, you said, so you got to hear this. Throughout the weeks leading up, I used to get phone calls and messages of certain people trying to psych me out on purpose. You know, it's fighters. You know, just letting you know I'm feeling great for you. Stuff like that. Anyway, I got told that Hunchy Taylor was practicing his rolling kick. And I'm like, why is he practicing his rolling? But, you know, am I fighting him? Like, you know, and I'm picturing, with all respect to Hunchy, and we've joked about this, it'd be like watching my grandfather doing a rolling kick in my head.
Sure.
In my head. Anyway, sure enough, Hunchy Taylor is my 50th fight, and I'm just gobsmacked that this is happening. And there's nothing left of me. I'm a mess. And out of nowhere,
he does
rolling kick. And just missed me, right? The crowd went bananas. You can see on the video, I look at him with this, while I start to smirk at him that I can't believe he done that, he just started, anyone that thinks that because of Hunchy's age that he is a killer. But he done a second one and it just clipped my face. Right, 2 rolling kicks in Hunchy's 70s, man. Right, you know, like that was just added layers of.
He was trying to give you a Hunchy Taylor tattoo. They call it the nice tattoo.
Oh man, 2 times. It was amazing. He just, you know, at the time, everyone, are they clapping for him or for me? Like, Anyway, look, it was an amazing experience. The worst thing was my planning. My idea was, because we run the Riverina Championships in October every year, usually, and I decided that I know that I'll have all the black belts because they'll be competing in the Riverina Championships the next day. You don't want to do that, man. I couldn't walk for a week.
That would peak.
And I was running. I was there 6 o'clock in the morning moving tables and chairs before everyone turned up to help set up. That was the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. I didn't think it through. I was an absolute mess.
Wow.
But, I loved every minute of it.
Well,
So yeah, so I'm writing
congratulations.
this book at the moment based on, say, from fight 1 to 10, and
Yes,
we
yes, yes,
discuss
yes. How good.
dojo fight. Yeah, I'm looking forward to bringing that out, because I think it's going to be a good read. It's a little bit tongue in cheek. I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
so serious about it. There's a
Yes.
few laughs in it, etc., etc.
Oh, well
Yeah.
done. Well done. Thank you for
You've got to
sharing
do
that.
it. You've got to do it.
Oh
And
shit,
one way
yeah.
or another, I'd love to either be in the crowd or
Yes,
whatever.
yes, yes.
If you're looking for someone, I'm more than happy to jump
Oh
into.
shit, I think a lot of people put their hand up. Don't worry, they're just doing it behind my back. But no, thank you for sharing that, and congratulations. And I mean that sincerely,
Thank
because
you, mate. Thank you.
and when I had Xian Mark Tyson on, and Xian Jimmy Phillips, and those, and Gary Vickers, you know, they you guys inspire me immensely, you know, and I want to keep that flame alive, like Aka do with their I think Sensei David out in Rutherglen did it as
Yes,
well. You know, that's inspiring shit, man. That was
it is.
fantastic to at least have that, you know, on my shoulder, and to, you know, be a part of that that crew is very, you know, illustrious and important to me at my stage as well, in turning 40 this year. So that's my, you know,
Yes.
40 to 50 as they call it, or as I'm calling it. So 40 to the 50. So that was cool, man, because with I've just now I'm thinking of Hutchie John Taylor. Every time I've shaken his hands, he could have just, you know, dropped one on us. And how cool is that? It's the same with
It
Hunchy.
was
Same
an
with
amazing.
Hunchy Eddie. He still punches me, and he's not 80, late 80s, and he jokes
Yeah,
around. That's not funny. It's not funny. He knows exactly where to punch it. He'll shake your hand and just
exactly
boom,
right.
drop one. And I'm like, hey, what the heck? Of course, cheeky, I think.
Yeah. It's in them. They can do it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I remember losing. No, I won a like intermediate tournament, and Hunchy came up to me and he gave me the trophy, and I'm like, thank you. Oh, how good's this? And he goes, you fought terrible. You know, you weren't thinking, you weren't doing. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I just won. He's like, nah. And he gave it to me like all upset in a way. He was like, come on, you can do better than that. We should have knocked him out. We should have done this. I'll never forget that day. I was like, man, these guys are, you know, when we say tough, but they want what's best for you, don't they? You know, they want to challenge you more.
Exactly right. They go, all right, you won this, but let's keep moving on.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. So how do you now, I guess, encourage, you know, your students, and you've got a great, you know, dojo / academy with how you've got Kyokushin, and you've got your BJJ that you're studying, you're learning and continuing to progress, and well done with that. How do you, you know, how were you going about, okay, I've got Kyokushin here, and then when you were starting to learn that the other BJJ, another art, what was in your mindset there? Share with us those turning into the 40s, you know, to the progression of what made you want to, you know, go into that side of things.
I wish someone could tell me what I was thinking to do. Once again, I look, Sensei, I just come up with shit and just start doing it.
That's cool, man.
Until I'm in so deep that there's no turning back. I thought, you know, shit, I've got nothing else to do with my life. Let's start another martial art in the 40s. Look, many years ago, two friends of mine, they were doing Kyokushin for a while, and they came into our class when I was under Sensei Gary, and they said, oh, can we show you some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stuff that we learned?
Yes.
And when I saw it, I was, whoa, absolutely blown away by it. And it just stayed in my head. And then it started, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu started to really take off. And Sensei, I've got this, I've always had this attitude where if I want to know about something, I don't know, I'm glad I do it, but I've got this high expectation. I'll go straight to the source. And at the time, the source was John Will. I'd done my research. He was the man, right? And so I emailed John Will and said, I'm going to come down to Geelong. I'm a Kyokushin black belt. I'm going to come down and train. So me and a handful of guys went down. We did 2 classes. He wiped the floor off with me. He goes, since you drove for 5 hours, he goes, I don't normally do this. He goes, but you and I, let's have a roll. From standing position. I don't know how it happened, because I weigh a lot more than he does. And I remember hitting the side of a wall and then go straight down onto. I don't know how I done it. And they just blew me away. So for a couple of years, we would drive our 6.5 hours. I'd do 1 or 2 classes, and then we'd drive home. And I bought his DVD curriculum, and me and a bunch of mates, it was just a very organic thing.
Right.
People joined in. Then obviously the 5-6 hour trip, it just, we couldn't do it anymore.
Sure.
I ended up finding, once again, watching the UFC, Coach Anthony Parosh is competing in it. He's Australian. I know a guy who knows him very well. I said, do you reckon he would be our instructor?
Yeah.
He got us our mutual friend got us in contact. He goes, sure, I'll come down. He was a huge man. I did not realize.
Yeah.
And he has been phenomenal. I mean, he's still in his 40s. He still competes. A couple of years ago, he won the World Championships over in, I think it was in Abu Dhabi for his weight division. The following year, he got silver. I mean, the man still competes. He's got a huge gym in Sydney, in 5 Dock, which is amazing. UFC fighters come by all the time. He's got, Anyway, the unusual part about being out in the bush is me and my friend Coach Pete, we started teaching as white belts, right? I know that sounds crazy, but the thing is, there was no one here to teach. Under the guidance of Coach Anthony, we would show, we'd go to him, he'd come to us, and we have 6 or 7 purple belts. Coach Pete and I just got our brown belts, but there was a core group that stayed together. But now all the guys and girls coming through now, they don't know the difference because we're quite high belts.
Yes.
And so they get all the benefit of all those years of us. Imagine being a Kyokushin white belt and start taking classes. I get you. It's unheard of. But we had great support. And Coach Anthony, I can't thank him enough. And Coach, John Will. The one thing I got from him that influences my karate is just what a great communicator and / instructor he is. He has a way of getting his message across on the mat, unlike anyone I know. With no disrespect to anybody.
No, I know.
So I'd end up trying to change my teaching style to the way that he did. And I found that I was getting greater results, speed of teaching, because of spending time communicating. There wasn't a rush, where this was sit down, discuss, this is how we do it. He was, I'm still, I still love watching his talks on Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. He's amazing. And since then I've had amazing opportunities. I've had Carlos Machado stay at my house. He taught Chuck Norris with the Machados. All the way back to Chuck Norris again. I could talk to him about Chuck, who was one of my reasons getting into Kyokushin. So how's the source? In my living room, stayed at my, I'm like, this is beyond. And I just think, what martial arts does is just amazing.
Well, your little circle there, let me just give you a breather. So I was fortunate to have John Will on. For the listeners that aren't familiar with Coach John, Professor, and he doesn't like being called the professor, it's coach, or master, sorry, master. I said master, it was funny. And so have a listen to that. And then when you just said Chuck Norris, and I had, and I'm dropping names here like no tomorrow, hey? Richard Norton, whose best man at his wedding was Chuck Norris. Like what? How cool.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Cool. And we're very lucky because our styles, the reason this can happen is because our styles are still relatively young compared to the real old martial arts styles. So we are either, unfortunately, to have been able to spend time with Sensei would have just been, but we can get very close to source still.
Indeed.
If you put yourself out there, put yourself in the way of these people. And martial artists usually, they're not like Hollywood actors, etc. I don't want to put them all in the one basket, but martial artists usually, as a rule, are very approachable people. They've been put through the ringer. Our egos have been bashed, strangled. Hopefully that in most cases that ego is not there, and people are willing to help. And that's the way I see it. That if they're willing to be like that, then we need to be like that. We need to be accessible. Yes. We need for our students, just be that person that they can come to, because if they're like that and they're the top of the tree, we have no right to be anything but that,
Yeah, oh, what a great reminder. No, indeed, and that's a great summary here on in gesturing. Where your values lie and your principles, and we've got about 5 more minutes. I told you it'll get to 50 like that, didn't I? That's a great way of let's put a bit of a summary here for everyone. And I'm sure as they all say, I'll get messages. Why didn't you ask him about this? And he's done this, and you should have asked more questions to Sensei. Well, we can catch up another time. We've all got to appreciate everyone's time. Sensei, where to from here? What are you putting yourself into now? 100 man? What's your next challenge?
It's not as big as that.
No.
This sounds ridiculous. I'm studying a counselling degree at the moment.
Oh, wow.
I work at a primary school, working every day, most days of the week, working with kids that are struggling either academically or at home. And I wanted to formalize that a bit more and
yes.
work in the school. Work within the school system, maybe as a school counsellor, especially primary age kids. Get them at that time. There's amazing pressures there.
Yes.
I have an amazing team of black belts both in my dojo and within our branch, that they are doing a lot of the mentoring as well.
I see.
And that's what we're about now. That if I can get through the rest of my life doing that, being positive and making sure our guys are positive and having a really good experience. Yeah, sure, a tough experience, but one that's going to be worthwhile when they look back. And as long as all our guys are, we as a group are doing that, mentoring the young, the old. I'm starting a class tonight, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 45 years and over.
Unreal.
Once again, I've got no time, so I thought, why not add a class? But at the same, I'm looking forward to that, man, because there are that age group that for some reason or another probably don't want to come and train. When I put it out there, I'm getting all these messages. Yeah, I want to try this. I want to try this.
How good.
There you go.
Well done.
Done. So I'm still adding things all the time.
Yes. That's great.
I'm just going to keep moving. I don't want to have a plan, Sensei, because
I get you now.
This far without it.
I get you. I now know how. Yeah, I got your secret. And for all the listeners, I'm sure you've got his secret. Just who gives a shit about that? Just keep going, then just whatever keeps coming out. Yeah, keep going.
What do they say? Bite off more you can chew, and chew like crazy. That's it.
How good. That's right. That's fantastic. I knew it would be a fun chat. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. And to your students out in Griffith, I'm going to come down. I said I was going to come down a while ago. I really, really want to bring my team down there and really give it a nudge and support what you're doing down there immensely. So, give us a bit of time, but I'll definitely bring a team down there for sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Sensei. Look, I've watched you from afar for many, many years. Like-minded people tend to have this radar one way or another. And I've watched you from afar from a very long time. And, you mentioned my energy, but, same. What you're doing is amazing. What you do for your dojo. You're an awesome family man and a mentor. I'm not one to blow smoke, but it is what it is. And you know, what you're doing is fantastic. What you're doing for on this platform is brilliant. And we can all learn from this, and we can all realize that, you know, we're all doing the same thing. We're all heading in the same direction.
That's it.
That's all that's important. That's all that's important.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. There you see why it was a forever the student and a forever the coach. You know, such a big influential person out there, and to many in Kyokushin. Well done. Keep it up, and we'll stay in touch. But to everyone out in Griffith and regional New South Wales, keep training hard. Well done, and you know, let's keep going forward. Well done. Thanks, Sensei Frank, for your time.
Sensei Pat, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Also, everyone, keep training hard. As you can tell, we're very fortunate to have our dojos open, have influential figures out there, you know, follow them on social media, support what they're doing, keep that positive energy out there, because there's many around the world that are not as fortunate as us. And to everyone else around the world that listen to this, from all the countries that we're so fortunate, you know, our thoughts are with you. Stay positive. Reach out to me. Reach out to anyone here in Australia. We'll help you as best we can with a push-up challenge, a sit-up challenge, whatever it needs to be. You know, we're all family. So keep looking out for extra content, and I'll be doing more interviews. But thank you so much. We'll stay in touch. Big us to you all. Us.